Well, the deployment has completed successfully, and I'm now looking at the settings for my MSXIASQL2016-V004200, my SQL data warehouse. A few things to note. Across the top here, we have convenient links to pause the data warehouse, to restore from backup, to delete completely, including all of its data. We can verify the resource group that we've added this to, check its status, and see that server name that we'll need to use for client tools. We can drill into database connection strings if we want to see what the syntax is going to look like to connect from ADO.NET or ODBC or PHP, for example. And we'll use that server name link to get into the firewall, the first post-install configuration thing that we'll need to change. So now I'm looking at the settings for the logical server, which contains that database that we created. And on the right-hand side here, we'll see Show Firewall Settings. Let's drill into that. And we're told that the connections from the IPs specified below provide access to all of the databases in this data warehouse. Well, there are no IP addresses specified below, so by default, no one but an Azure resource is going to be able to connect to this. Now, depending on the tool you're using, you can have this IP address added for you by the client tool. For example, recent builds of SQL Server Management Studio can offer to do this for you. But we'll take advantage of it while we're here. I can choose to add my current detected client IP address, which I will do. I can also choose to create rule names with ranges of IP addresses if I know all of the addresses used by, say, all of the analysts in my department, for example. For my purposes, that's good enough. We'll go ahead and save that. Got my success message. I will close that window, and we will be ready to test this from a client tool. Okay, so I've opened SQL Server Management Studio, and I've provided that four-part name for the server at x220dw.database.windows.net, followed by a comma and port 1433 to tell the tool how to connect. I've specified that I want to use SQL Server authentication, and I've entered my login and my password. I'll choose Connect. And on the left-hand side in the Object Explorer, I should be able to see the sample database that I created with the tables that came from the AdventureWorks sample that we specified at time of creation. Let's go ahead and test this. I'll find a view, and I will script out a select statement so that we can test connectivity and test that the data can be returned. Now, before I run this query, I'm going to remove the use statement that the scripting tool put into place that's used to switch context from one database to another. That is not supported by SQL databases, and that is not supported by Azure SQL Data Warehouse. All right, with that in place, let's go ahead and click Execute and see if we get some results back. We do. We get our 60,398 rows back with our aggregate sales. So it looks like our warehouse is running. It's accessible from my client. I think we have a proof of concept.